Bethesda is arguably one of the most well-known game developers in the business. Casual gamers may not know the company by name, but I'm almost certain that they know the games. I personally know people that have played The Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and that's it. So with those facts being present, there was no avoiding the hype train that came with Starfield. People were bound to have high expectations based off the success of Bethesda's other IPs. Add on top of that the fact that a ton of people were saying that Microsoft was counting on Starfield to blow people away so they could finally join Sony in having their own AAA exclusive IPs. I don't think Starfield being bad would kill Microsoft, but I do agree that it would have been bad. So with all this pressure on the game, was it able to overcome it, or will it crumble under it?
Living in the moment, I feel as if I'm insane. A co-creator who basically don't exist on this plane. It's all a part of the game. They fabricate.
When I first loaded up Starfield, I tried my best to temper my expectations a bit. You know, you can't be disappointed if you don't overhype yourself. But despite my best efforts, I was so excited to press play. First things first came character creation, and to be honest, I was pretty underwhelmed. I thought that it'd be a bit more extensive, but it's pretty much what's been in past Bethesda games. It's not terrible, I just wish we had more control over certain parts of our character's look. But after getting through character creation, it was finally time to start with my journey. I will say that the opening of this game isn't as impactful as, say, a Skyrim or a Fallout 4. It's not bad, but not super memorable, and I don't think it'll be nearly as memeable as those games. So, gameplay-wise, it feels like a Bethesda game through and through. From the character animations to the way bodies ragdoll, everything screams Bethesda. I'm not saying that like it's a bad thing. Personally, I'm a fan of their games, so I enjoy it. But if you don't like past Bethesda games, it's probably going to be the same here. I understand you're excited, I understand it's a game in space, but if you don't like those, you're not going to like this either. It's got the same structure as past Bethesda games, and their style has always been different from other devs. Now, I will say that your typical Bethesda mechanics with a bit of a facelift. One thing that stuck out to me is character lean while running, which was its own mod back in the Skyrim days. But I think a lot of the things people are critical of in Starfield are just tropes of Bethesda games. I mean, hell, they've made some of the most recognizable games of the millennium, so I think if it's not broke, why fix it? Exploration was a huge selling point of Starfield throughout its pre-release marketing, and it had a lot of players excited. I would say to temper those expectations just a little bit. Not to say you won't have a good time exploring, just that if you're looking for something like No Man's Sky, you're not getting that here. There's a lot of loading screens, and you just can't fly your ship wherever you want to go on or off world. Like I said, it's not bad, you still have a good time while you're exploring the world that they've created, but it's not as open as people were expecting, or not even expecting, just I guess hoping for. Everybody was hoping there'd be no loading screens, you could just go wherever you want, land wherever you want at all times, and it's just not like that. It's done in a good way. Most loading screens are hidden by some type of on-screen action or animation or something, but there are a ton of them when it comes down to it. If you have a good PC, which I'd say I have a decent PC, loading screens aren't really that bad. They last a couple seconds if that, and you're good to go. So unless you're somebody that just likes to be nitpicky, if you don't care about it, it's just a video game. There's loading screens in video games, get over it. Plus, they took a pretty realistic approach with the planets you can visit, in the sense that there's a lot of planets that can't sustain life. Those planets aren't completely barren, as they typically have outposts and other places of interest for you to check out. So it's still fun to explore, you just won't be running into things everywhere you go. But I will say you have far more random encounters in space while flying on your ship. I've had a genuinely good time communicating with other ships along my journey. And while not all the conversations are worthwhile, it still helps keep things interesting. Overall, Bethesda created an amazing world in Starfield. It feels real and actually lived in, which makes sense because world building has always been their biggest strength. It may not be the space life simulator that some people hoped for, but it's still a beautifully crafted universe. With all those well-crafted worlds, there's a ton to experience along your journey. There are countless combat encounters, locations to discover, and characters to get to know. Throw in a very solid amount of customization and a full-fledged outpost mechanic with the ability to have automated resource production, and now you're really cooking. Now add in fun space combat and a variety of ways to attack any combat or dialogue scenario, and you've got yourself a contender for Game of the Year. Block out all the biased Sony vs. Microsoft BS you see on the internet, and go check out Starfield if you can. It'd make your own opinion, but me personally, I think it's worth playing. Go check it out.
But this offense just a little too good, isn't it?
They really are,
because no matter what you do to make an adjustment.
And he's into the end zone for a Tampa Bay touchdown. Saquon Barkley.